Howdy, folks. I'm everyone's secret cabinet passenger,
I'm Amber.
and here's some non-passenger cabinets. If you're curious about how I came up with today's random word, I went to an online noun generator and I got passenger cabinet. So that's what I am today, folks. I am a passenger cabinet. All right, folks, our first letter is titled I, a 50-year-old male, along with my 35-year-old female wife and her friend, a 40s female, are mad at me for going out with friends on Christmas Eve. My wife and I welcomed our second child, a boy, 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay, I think we reached our conclusion here, folks. I just love how this one starts off. I left my wife with a newborn child on Christmas Eve. Am I the jerk? But you would think, okay, this is probably as bad as it gets. You, dear viewer, would be wrong. It gets worse. We already have a 4-year-old daughter. When I first began pursuing her 10 years ago, she let me know that having children was a non-negotiable thing for her, and that if I didn't want to have kids, then we shouldn't waste our time any further. Secretly, I was on the fence about having kids, but I wanted to be with her. I make more than enough money for her to be a stay-at-home mom, and she has not worked since our daughter was born. Well, on Christmas Eve, I told my wife that I was going to go meet some friends at the bar down the street. She seemed annoyed by this, as I admittedly had told her that I was going to do Santa stuff for our daughter while she tended to the baby. I told her that I would do it when I got home, and that I wouldn't be late. I was home a little later than anticipated, and arrived at home at 1 a.m. to find that my living room was a mess. My wife and our next door neighbor's wife, close friends, Kate, were sitting on the couch. My wife was red-faced and bawling. Kate was holding our son. I asked what was going on, and Kate looked like she wanted to not do nice things to me. My wife told me that our daughter wouldn't go to sleep because she was too excited for Santa. And just as she managed to get her to fall asleep, the baby started screaming and woke her up again. She was trying to get Santa presents done, but our daughter was overtired and overexcited, and our son was screaming inconsolably. My wife had some kind of panic attack and called Kate to help her get our daughter to bed. Apparently, my wife's panic attack was so bad that she wanted to call her mom, who lives in Sweden, and ask her to fly over to get some help. Our daughter had just fallen back to sleep 10 minutes before I had arrived. Kate sat with her and read her stories and sang to her while my wife took care of the baby. I thanked Kate for her help, and I walked her to the door. As she was leaving, she told me that I was an inconsiderate jerk for leaving my wife alone. She told me that my wife refused to call me for help, as I would have been mad. I would have been a little annoyed, sure, but not mad. She told me that I needed to grow up and be a father, and to stop acting like I'm still 22 with no responsibilities. I don't see how I'm the jerk here. Kate helped her, and everything was fine. They didn't need me after all, and my wife and Kate have more experience with kids than me. My wife told me on Christmas morning that she doesn't want to ruin the holidays by fighting, but she hasn't been the same with me since. If it was just my wife who was mad at me, I wouldn't feel bad, but Kate is also mad at me. I love how Kate, the secondary person here, is also mad at OP, and he's like, maybe I was wrong. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
100% the jerk.
Oh, and just to be totally transparent with this one, this is a relationship advice one, so this wasn't actually not on Am I the Jerk subreddit, it was on relationship advice. But what were you going to say now, Amber?
So it sounds like Opia is trying to use, well, I was on the fence about kids to be like, well, I never have to deal with my kids, but
No, Amber, you don't understand. The wife is just better at dealing with kids.
Yeah, like, that too now.
She's just better. I mean, you have to be in OP's shoes to understand that, he was a little home a little late. It wasn't that big of a deal. I mean,
no. So, like, the time to, like, once you decide to have kids, you gotta commit to being a parent. And, like, it seems like OP wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to still act like he wanted to marry his wife, and so
Hmm.
he did that, and he had the kids for her, but now he just wants to keep acting like he was before he had kids and is leaving his wife in a horrible situation. Like, first of all, Christmas Eve is usually family time for people
Yeah,
with
yeah,
children who celebrate Christmas.
yeah.
And he had made a promise to do things, and then he just abandoned the wife with the two children, and she doesn't even feel safe calling him for help.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a whole lot wrong here,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that OP made a promise here. They said that they were going to help out with Christmas and that they were going to be a source of help.
Mm-hmm.
And OP's wife didn't want to call him and didn't want to bother him because probably it seems like they've had similar arguments before. Maybe he's
Mm-hmm.
gone out to the pub before and and he was like, didn't feel like getting bothered by her and snapped at her or something like that. And the fact of the matter, though, is that he agreed to
Mm-hmm.
be there. And like, if there was no expectation that he was going to be there, at least then she wouldn't have had the false sense that he might be coming home at some point in time. But he essentially was like, led her on to think that eventually he's coming home, right? She probably wasn't expecting at 1 a.m. or anything ridiculous like that. And he's like, and she's off with me, which is like, yeah, one, she's like probably exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you've just broken your promise and you showed her that you value your pub friends more than you value her and her comfort and her well-being.
Well, he seemed to think that it's absolutely no problem that
Yeah.
she had a panic attack because, well, she was able to call the neighbor. It's like, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
Like, and it was all, well, if it was just me, her who was mad at me, I wouldn't care. Like,
Yeah.
your wife matters so little to you that you don't care if you hurt her.
Yeah.
It's only if you look bad to the neighbors.
Yeah, it really feels like he cares more about, the impression that he's giving people than he does whether or not he's a good person, right? So I think it's a terrible situation. And again, I know that this person wasn't asking whether or not they're the jerk in this situation, and they're asking for relationship advice. And so my relationship advice is be a better father,
Yes.
right? Be a better person.
Like, if your wife knows more about childcare, it's time for you to start stepping up and learning it so it's not
Yeah.
all on her.
I mean, you're 50 years old. You could have figured this out by now.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a child for the last 4 years. Surely you have to know something about taking care of your children.
And you never are going to learn something if you don't practice. It's
Yeah.
like any skill.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's where you need to go. You need to start on this, OP, is just be a better husband, a better father, a better dad, those kinds of things. So that's my thoughts. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Reminding My Stepmother About How She Really Met My Father? And this one is a doozy, folks, so hang on to your seats. You thought the last one was bad, and it was bad, and this one is too. All kinds of drama.
Mm-hmm.
May contain peanuts, though. It doesn't contain peanuts. I'm a 21-year-old male, and I was at my father's house for Christmas this year. Most of my paternal family was there, but the only people relevant to the situation are my dad, a 49-year-old male, and his wife, Sasha, a 39-year-old female. My sister Jasmine, an 18-year-old female, and her boyfriend Mike, a 21-year-old male. Jasmine is my only full sister, and we're extremely close. She's currently 3 months pregnant, which is obviously not ideal since she's only 18, but I'm going to support her regardless. I do not like her boyfriend, but he's good to her and able to provide for her and the baby. Sasha has always hated Jasmine. No one has any idea as to why, and my dad prefers to ignore it. After Christmas dinner, Jasmine, Mike, my dad, Sasha, and I were cleaning up when Jasmine suddenly felt nauseous and went to sit down. Mike went with her. This is when Sasha decided to begin talking badly about her for being a pregnant teen and for being unmarried. She then started to say that she thinks that Jasmine got pregnant on purpose because Mike's family is wealthy, which doesn't make any sense since our family is well off too. Sasha is known for saying horrible things to get a reaction. So I was ignoring her. So was my dad, until she asked how I felt about my younger sister having a child with someone who was older than me. Literally only 4 months older than me. At this point in time, I was done, so I stopped washing dishes and I told her to be quiet because she broke up my parents' marriage. That's when my father finally decided to get involved, but I went on and I reminded Sasha of the fact that when Jasmine was little, she was in the hospital a lot and she, Sasha, was one of the nurses that cared for her on the ward and she began an affair with my father. I also decided to remind her of how her eldest child, my half-sister, was born 8 months after she married my dad. The situation devolved into shouting, and turns out a lot of my paternal family didn't know the truth about how my dad and Sasha met. I ended up leaving, and so did Jasmine and Mike and a few other people. Now my dad is demanding that I apologize to his wife for embarrassing her and making her look bad in front of the whole family. Now, I want an unbiased view on whether or not I'm the jerk for rising to my stepmother's bait, her insults to Jasmine, and going lower by exposing her. Am I the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. Don't dish what you can't take.
I say, there's an old proverb. Don't throw rocks. Don't throw glass rocks in wooden houses. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Don't throw stones in glass houses, right?
Yeah. Well, and exactly, like, the things she's been saying about your sister are despicable, and someone should have put a stop to this. And I'm not saying you, OP, because you were a child through much of this, but it was your dad's responsibility to step up and put a stop to this long ago.
Yeah. I mean, really, he should have put an end to it.
Like, who lets their spouse bully their child and just be really nasty to her? And so your dad's a huge jerk for not saying anything and letting this continue. Sasha is the biggest jerk of them all.
Yeah.
And I think you're fine. Like, the family deserves to know that she is, know who she is and know what happened. Your your dad and stepmom can't just, play all innocent and...
Yeah, I mean, that's really what this boils down to. They needed to intervene a long time ago. OP, it's not your responsibility to fix, their issues. And again, you were a child through most of this, so again, that wasn't your fault or your problem. And I'm glad that your sister has you to support her and stick up for her, because I think that that's a really good thing, and it shows that you're a nice, caring brother. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Hivory on 3 says, remind her every time you see her, hello, father's affair partner, how are you doing? So she gets off her high horse. She literally has no reason, nothing. She has no place to freaking talk. Not the jerk, not the jerk. And OP replies, I used to do that when I was younger, but with a much ruder word. That probably did not de-escalate things. And Hivory on 3 says, bro, you're my idol. How's the family though, now that they know? And OP replies, thanks. A lot of people suspected it because of dodgy timelines, but they're all disgusted with Sasha and my dad. Alright, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and before we begin, we actually have another joke book here, and you're not going to be able to see it. Maybe I'll put a picture up, but it's 101 silly monster jokes from Jovial Bob Stein, who is actually R.L. Stein, who wrote humor apparently at one point in time. So do indulge us, Amber, with a very silly monster joke, and let's hope that I don't have a heart attack.
Nurse, doctor, there's an invisible monster in the waiting room. Doctor, tell him I can't see him.
Maybe he should have stuck with horror. That was horribly mean.
It was.
Jovial Bob Stein, I'm sorry. That was very rude of me. It was a funny joke. I laughed about it.
Well, his Sick of Being Sick book was like a staple of mine as a kid. It is so fun. I I appreciate it a lot. So I think he's hilarious.
I thought it was a good joke too. I was just being mean. I had a mean streak in me. It was all the monsters. They pushed me to my limits here. And I have Mega Mint tea. I mean, if you're a writer, you've got to have a thick skin anyways. I'm sure he would appreciate my joke. Hopefully, don't take it personally.
I'm a writer and I have the thinnest of skins.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I hope you're having a great week too. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
After the Christmas dinner, Jasmine, Mike, and my dad, Sasha, and I were clearly up when Jasmine suddenly felt nauseous. Oh, cleaning up. They must mean cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
They say clearly up. Folks, you know, sometimes these people, they gaslight me. It literally says clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Amber has to make sure because I'm dyslexic. She's like, yeah, Brian, you misread stuff all the time. You could be convinced that something is actually right and it wrong, but it's actually right, and you're just ridiculous.